The word comes out small and certain. Mama. 3-year-old Sophie Harrington points at me with her tiny finger, her blue eyes steady despite the chaos erupting around us. Despite her stepmother-to-be shrieking accusations. Despite the security guards advancing. Despite the diamond bracelet glittering on the marble floor between us. That's ridiculous, Vanessa Lancaster hisses, her perfect face twisted with fury. Sophie, don't be silly. I'm going to be your mama soon. But Sophie shakes her head, her grip tightening on my leg. Mama, she repeats, louder now. And I know, with the absolute certainty of someone who spent 6 months watching this child suffer, that everything is about to change. 6 months earlier, the Harrington penthouse occupies the entire 42nd floor of Manhattan's newest luxury tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Central Park. Art that belongs in museums hangs on walls. Everything gleams with the kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself. I stand in the foyer with my single suitcase, my credentials folder, my carefully constructed professional armor. The agency said billionaire widower, young daughter, live-in position. They didn't mention the fiancé. Vanessa Lancaster sweeps into the room like she owns it. Which, I suppose, she almost does. 28, model thin, wearing athleisure that costs more than my monthly rent. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. You must be the new maid, she says. Not a question. Grace Williams. Yes, ma'am. I'm Vanessa, James's fiancée. She examines me the way someone examines furniture they're considering replacing. The last maid didn't work out. I have very high standards. I understand. Sophie is a difficult child. Behavioral issues since her mother died. The nannies couldn't handle her, so James decided to try a maid who could also provide childcare. Personally, I think she needs professional intervention, but, she shrugs. We'll see how you do. Before I can respond, a man enters. James Harrington. 45, exhausted eyes, the kind of face that's handsome but hollowed by grief. He wears a suit that probably costs $5,000 and carries it like armor. Your Grace? His handshake is firm but distracted. Thank you for coming. Sophie's been through 4 caregivers in 6 months. The agency said you have experience with traumatized children. My throat tightens. Yes, sir. I do. I don't tell him I learned that experience by being a traumatized child's mother. By watching my daughter Maya fight cancer, while I fought insurance companies and hospital administrators and a system that made dying easier than getting care. By losing her anyway. Sophie doesn't speak much, James continues. The therapist says it's selective mutism triggered by losing her mother. She understands everything, but she rarely talks. Especially not to new people. I'll be patient, I promise. You'll need to be. Vanessa's laugh is light, dismissive. The child is practically feral. Something flickers in James's expression. Discomfort, maybe disagreement. But he says nothing. Just nods to the household manager hovering nearby. Mrs. Chun will show you to your room. Sophie's with the tutor now. You'll meet her at dinner. I meet Sophie an hour before dinner. She's in the playroom, an enormous space filled with toys that look untouched, books still pristine, educational equipment that probably cost thousands. She sits alone on the floor with a stuffed elephant, singing to it softly. I recognize the song. It's one Maya used to sing. I knock gently on the open door. Sophie looks up. Her eyes are her father's, dark, watchful, careful. Her hair is blonde like her mother's must have been. She's tiny for 3, delicate, with bruises on her shins that look like normal childhood tumbles. But her posture isn't normal. It's the posture of someone waiting for hurt. Hi, Sophie, I say softly. I'm Grace. I'm going to be helping take care of you. She stares at me. Silent. That's a beautiful elephant. What's its name? Nothing. I had a daughter once. I continue, sitting cross-legged in the doorway, not entering her space. She loved elephants too. She said they were magic because they never forget the people they love. Sophie's fingers tighten on the stuffed animal. Your elephant looks like it loves you very much. She stands, walks to me slowly, and places the elephant in my lap. Then she returns to her spot and waits. It's a test. I understand tests. I hold the elephant gently, respectfully. Thank you for trusting me with something so important. I'll keep it safe. Sophie's face doesn't change, but something in her eyes softens. We sit in silence for 10 minutes. Then she stands, retrieves the elephant, and sits beside me. Not touching, just near. It's the beginning of something. Dinner is torture. The dining room could seat 20. The four of us, James, Vanessa, Sophie, me, cluster at one end like strangers at a bus stop. I'm only present because Vanessa insisted someone needs to manage Sophie's eating. She's impossibly picky, Vanessa explains, picking at her salad. Refuses everything. It's attention-seeking behavior. Sophie sits in a booster seat, staring at her plate. Chicken, vegetables, rice, perfectly balanced, completely untouched. Sophie, eat, James says tiredly. Please. You need dinner. She doesn't move. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Vanessa sighs. Oppositional defiance. She needs behavioral therapy. I watch Sophie's hands. They're trembling slightly. Her eyes keep darting to the vegetables, specifically the green beans. I remember Maya refusing to eat after chemo. Not because she was defiant. Because certain foods made her gag. Because her body associated them with being sick. May I try something? I ask quietly. Vanessa waves dismissively. Good luck. I lean toward Sophie. Are the green beans scary? She looks at me. Nods slightly. Okay. We don't eat scary things. I remove the green beans from her plate. Better. Another small nod. How about the chicken? She points to it. Makes a cutting motion. I cut the chicken into tiny pieces. She picks up her fork. And eats. Vanessa's expression sours. You're enabling her. I'm feeding her, I reply. James watches his daughter eat with something like relief. Like this small victory means everything. But Vanessa's eyes, when they meet mine, promise trouble. The bruises appear 3 weeks later. I'm changing Sophie for bed when I notice them, finger-shaped marks on her upper arm. Fresh. Distinctive. Sophie. I say gently, who hurt you? She pulls away, silent, terrified. I don't push. Not yet. But I start watching differently. I watch how Sophie flinches when Vanessa enters rooms. How she makes herself small. How she stops playing when she hears Vanessa's voice. I watch how Vanessa interacts with Sophie when James isn't present. Impatient, cold, rough when handling her. Not overtly abusive, just careless in ways that add up. I watch how James works 16-hour days, missing bedtimes, missing meals, missing the small signs that his daughter is afraid in her own home. I start documenting. Photos of bruises. Notes on Sophie's reactions. Times when Vanessa is alone with her. Because I've been the person who didn't document before. Who trusted that surely someone would notice. Who waited for proof that never came in time. She's lying. Vanessa says casually one afternoon, examining her manicure. We're in the living room while Sophie naps. About whatever she's told you. I keep my expression neutral. Sophie doesn't talk much. She doesn't need to. I see how you look at me. Vanessa's smile is sharp. You think I'm the wicked stepmother. But you don't know what it's like, trying to build a life with a man whose dead wife is everywhere. Whose daughter hates me. She's 3 years old. She's manipulative. She knows exactly how to make me look bad. The crying. The flinching. The refusing to eat when I cook. Vanessa leans forward. But James will believe me, Grace. When it comes down to it, he'll choose me over a maid who's been here 5 minutes. The thread is clear. That night, I find Sophie's elephant torn. Stuffing pulled out. One ear ripped. Sophie holds it, sobbing silently. What happened? I ask though I know. She points toward Vanessa's closed bedroom door. Did she do this? Not. Did she say why? Sophie whispers, barely audible. I was bad. My hands shake as I repair the elephant with needle and thread. As I hold this tiny girl who's learning that love means being hurt. That safety is temporary. That the people supposed to protect you are the most dangerous. I know this lesson. Maya learned it from hospitals that discharged her too soon. From insurance companies that valued profit over life. Not again. Never again. I try talking to James. Sir, I'm concerned about Sophie's. Is she eating? He interrupts, signing documents without looking up. Yes, but sleeping through the night. Mostly, however. Then whatever it is, can it wait? I have a merger closing in 72 hours. He glances up finally, exhausted. I know I'm absent. I know Vanessa's adjustment has been difficult. But she loves Sophie. She's trying. Just give it time. He believes what he wants to believe. What's convenient. What allows him to keep all the pieces of his life moving forward. I've seen this before too. The stealing accusation comes on a Thursday. Vanessa hosts a charity luncheon. 12 society women in the penthouse, champagne and tiny sandwiches. Sophie confined to the playroom with me. Afterward, Vanessa storms in, face flushed with rage. Where is it? Where's what, ma'am? My diamond bracelet. The Cartier. It's worth $80,000 and it's missing. My stomach drops. I haven't seen. You were the only staff in the apartment during lunch. Mrs. Chun was at the market. The caterers were supervised. That leaves you. Her voice rises. I want my bracelet, Grace. Now. I didn't take anything. Then you won't mind if I search your room. She doesn't wait for permission. She sweeps into my quarters, throws open drawers, appends my suitcase. Sophie watches from the doorway, clutching her elephant. Vanessa emerges holding nothing, which seems to infuriate her more. James, she shouts into her phone. You need to come home. Now. The maid stole from me. James arrives within the hour, his face grave. Grace, this is serious. If you took Vanessa's bracelet. I didn't, sir. I swear. She's lying, Vanessa insists. Who else could have taken it? I want her fired. Arrested. We need proof before we call police, James says, but he's looking at me differently now. Suspicious. Disappointed. Check the security cameras, I suggest desperately. I already did, Vanessa smiles. You were in my bedroom earlier. Changing linens. That's my job. Convenient. Sophie tugs on my sleeve. I look down at her frightened face. She whispers something. What, sweetheart? James kneels. What did you say? Sophie takes a breath. Speaks clearly for the first time in months. Mama hit it. The room freezes. What? Vanessa's voice cracks. Sophie, don't be ridiculous. But Sophie walks to the decorative vase near the entrance. Reaches inside. Pulls out the diamond bracelet. Silence. You put that there, Vanessa says to me. The camera will show I didn't, I say quietly. But it will show who did. James's face transforms as understanding dawns. He looks at his fiancée with something like horror. You framed her, he breathes. You planted your own bracelet to get Grace fired. No. Sophie's confused. She must have taken it. You know how why? James demands. Vanessa's composure cracks. Because she's turning you against me. Making Sophie trust her instead of me. I'm supposed to be this family's mother, not some maid who's been here 5 minutes. So you lied. You staged a theft. I needed her gone. Sophie presses against my legs. I put my hand on her shoulder, protective, grounding. Show me the cameras, James says coldly. All of them. From the entire day. We watch in James's office. We see Vanessa placing the bracelet in the vase at 2:47 p.m. We see her searching my room at 3:15 p.m. We see her making the phone call at 3:22 p.m. We also see, when James pulls footage from the past month, other things. Vanessa grabbing Sophie's arm roughly. Vanessa throwing the stuffed elephant in the trash. Vanessa isolating Sophie in her room for hours. Small cruelties. Calculated meanness. The systematic breaking of a child too young to defend herself. James watches in silence, his face carved from stone. When the footage ends, he turns to Vanessa. Get out. James, please, get out of my home. Now. Before I call the police and have you charged with child endangerment. Vanessa looks at me with pure hatred. This is your fault. You poisoned him against me. No, James says. You did this yourself. Security escorts her out. She screams threats, promises legal action, swears she'll destroy us. The penthouse falls quiet. Sophie whispers again, Mama? She's looking at me. James kneels beside his daughter. Sophie, Grace isn't. She's our maid. But Sophie shakes her head stubbornly. Mama, she insists. Because children know. They know who sees them, who protects them, who stays. James asks me to stay. I know this is complicated, he says that night, after Sophie's asleep. But she trusts you. She spoke because of you. And I've been, his voice breaks. I've been so blind. Working, grieving, trying to move forward. I didn't see what was happening in my own home. You see it now, I say quietly. Because you made me look. He runs his hands through his hair. I owe you more than I can repay. I don't need repayment. I need Sophie to be safe. He nods. She will be. I promise. Promises are cheap. But I hear something in his voice, shame, determination, the sound of a man waking up. I've heard that sound before, in my own voice, the day after Maya died. When I finally stopped trusting broken systems and started asking questions. I'll stay, I tell him. For Sophie. The weeks that follow are careful reconstruction. James cuts his hours. Comes home for dinner. Reads bedtime stories. Sits with Sophie in silence until she's ready to speak. I maintain boundaries. I'm the maid, the caregiver, not a replacement mother. But Sophie doesn't understand boundaries. She follows me, holds my hand, calls me mama, despite gentle corrections. I lost my daughter. I finally tell James one evening. 3 years ago. Cancer. She was 14. Understanding floods his face. I'm sorry. Sophie reminds me of her. Not in looks or personality, but in what she needs. Someone to notice. Someone to believe her without proof. Someone to fight when she can't. You've given her that. I almost didn't. I almost stayed quiet. I look at him directly. If Sophie hadn't found that bracelet, Vanessa would have one. I'd be gone. And Sophie would still be. I don't finish. Don't need to. But she did find it, James says. And you stayed. That's what matters. The therapist says Sophie's selective mutism is improving. She speaks more now. Short sentences. Whispered observations. She names her feelings, scared, sad, happy, with careful precision. She talks about her mother sometimes. The real one, Caroline, who died when Sophie was 18 months old. Aneurysm. Sudden. Devastating. Do you remember her? I ask gently. Sophie shakes her head. But Daddy does. He cries sometimes. That's because he loved her very much. Do you cry? For your daughter? The question catches me off guard. Yes. Sometimes. Does it help? A little. But you know what helps more. She waits. Loving the people who are still here. Taking care of them. Making sure they're safe. Sophie considers this. Then, like you take care of me. Exactly like that. She hugs me. Fierce, trusting, complete. And I hold her. This child who isn't mine, but needs me anyway. 6 months after Vanessa leaves, James promotes me. Not to nanny. That title feels wrong, clinical. But to family manager, a position he creates specifically. I coordinate Sophie's care, manage the household, serve as the steady presence while he rebuilds his relationship with his daughter. The pay is generous. The respect is genuine. The boundaries are clear. But Sophie still calls me mama sometimes, and I've stopped correcting her. Is that okay? James asks one evening. I don't want to diminish Caroline's memory, but she needs someone present. I finish. Someone who chooses her. That's not replacing Caroline. That's honoring what Caroline would have wanted. He nods, grateful. We've become something unusual, not quite family, not quite employer and employee. Something in between. Something that works. I think about Vanessa sometimes. About how close she came to winning. About how easily I could have been fired, disbelieved, dismissed as a jealous maid making trouble. About how many Sophies live in homes where no one notices. Where the abuser is believed. Where speaking up means losing everything. The knowledge sits heavy in my chest. So I start volunteering. At a children's advocacy center. Helping investigate suspected abuse cases. Teaching other caregivers to document, to trust their instincts, to speak up even when it's risky. You have a gift for this, the center director tells me. For seeing what others miss. It's not a gift, I reply. It's experience. I missed things once. Someone I loved paid the price. But you're using that experience now. To save others. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just trying to answer the question that haunts every parent who loses a child. What if I had fought harder? On Maya's birthday, I take Sophie to the botanical gardens. We plant flowers, bright, resilient things that bloom despite harsh conditions. Sophie digs with intense concentration, her small hands careful with each bulb. These are for your daughter? She asks. Yes. To remember her. Will they grow? If we take care of them. If we come back and water them and make sure they have what they need. Sophie thinks about this. Then, Grace, when I'm bigger, can I help take care of them too? My throat tightens. I'd like that very much. We work in companionable silence, dirt under our nails, sun on our faces. Two people learning that loss doesn't end, but neither does the possibility of love. James remarries eventually. Not for 3 years. Not until Sophie is 6 and secure. Not until he's sure. Her name is Rachel. She's a pediatric surgeon. Kind, grounded, unimpressed by wealth. She courts Sophie as carefully as she courts James, bringing books, asking questions, respecting boundaries. You're important to her, Rachel says to me before the wedding. I want you to know I'm not here to replace you. Or Caroline. I'm just adding to the team. Sophie's lucky to have people who understand that. I tell her. She smiles. We're all lucky you were paying attention when it mattered. The advocacy center offers me a full-time position when Sophie starts first grade. I need to leave the Harrington household. I tell James. I know. He doesn't look surprised. You've given us 3 years. Given Sophie safety and stability and love. But you have more to give the world than just us. She'll be okay. Because of you, she'll be okay. We create a transition plan. I move to part-time, then weekends, then monthly visits. Sophie adjusts. She has Rachel now, has her father, has therapists and teachers, and a life expanding beyond trauma. She'll always call me mama sometimes. I'll always answer. The work at the advocacy center is brutal and beautiful. I investigate cases. I interview children. I sit in courtrooms and testify about patterns I've seen, documentation I've gathered, moments when someone should have noticed but didn't. I save some. Not all. The system is broken in ways that one person can't fix. But I ask questions. I refuse to stay quiet. I believe children when they tell me, in words or silence or the language of fear, that something's wrong. How do you do it? A new volunteer asks after a particularly hard case. How do you keep going when you can't save everyone? I think of Maya, of Sophie, of every child who needed someone to notice. Because staying quiet saves no one, I say, at least this way, I save some. It's not enough. It's never enough. But it's something. 10 years after that Thursday when Sophie called me mama, I receive a letter. It's from Sophie herself, now 13, away at boarding school. Her handwriting is careful, precise. Dear Grace, I'm writing this for English class. We're supposed to describe someone who changed our life. I chose you. I don't remember everything from when I was little. But I remember being scared. I remember Vanessa. I remember thinking no one would believe me because I was just a kid and she was going to be my dad's wife. Then you came. And you saw things. And you believed me even though I couldn't say the words. My teacher asked why that mattered so much. I told her, because sometimes being seen is the same as being saved. You taught me that the smallest voice can change everything if someone's brave enough to listen. That asking questions is more powerful than accepting answers. That people who seem powerless often see the most. I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to notice things. I want to believe people. I want to save someone the way you saved me. Love, Sophie P.S. I still have my elephant. And I still think of you as my mama. I hope that's okay. I read the letter 3 times. Then I fold it carefully and place it in the box with others. Letters from families I've helped. Children I've advocated for. Cases where asking one question changed everything. On hard days, I read them. I remember that speaking up isn't comfortable or safe or always successful. But it matters. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever questioned authority, if you've ever wondered if your voice matters, I want you to tell you something. It does. Your observations count. Your instincts are valid. Your questions deserve answers. The world needs people who notice things, who speak up, who refuse to stay quiet when something's wrong, who believe that the smallest person in the room might see what everyone else misses. Be that person. Be the one who asks questions when everyone else is silent. Be the one who believes the powerless over the powerful. Be the one who remembers that job titles don't equal truth, and credentials aren't the same as character. The maids of the world, the overlooked ones, the underestimated ones, the ones who clean up other people's messes and see what they leave behind. We know things that privilege blinds people to. We see the patterns. We notice the details. We connect the dots. And sometimes, if we're brave enough, we save lives. Not because we're heroes, but because we decided our silence wasn't worth someone else's suffering. That decision changes everything. I keep Maya's picture on my desk at the advocacy center. Sophie's letters beside it. They remind me why I do this work. Not because I saved everyone, but because I learned, too late for one, just in time for another, that staying quiet saves no one. That the smallest voice asking, "What if everyone else is wrong?" can change a child's entire life. That sometimes, being called mama by a child who isn't yours is the greatest honor you'll ever receive. And that grief can be transformed into purpose, powerlessness into strength, silence into the kind of questions that save lives. One word, one child, one person brave enough to notice. That's how the world changes.